Spring Hill, a small Jesuit school, Alabama. 18 reasons I went to Spring Hill College. They had a wonderful golf course, and I was pretty much a golf bum in school. I read more greens than I read books, and so but it was a good Jesuit school. I majored in English and wrote all during school.
What did you do after school?
I was such a hedonist in college, always in the golf course, and never really studied very much, and kind of frittered it all away. And I was coming home from Alabama to New York, where we live, and I stopped off at a religious order, a Trappist, a monastic order in Georgia, and I went to stay for a week, and I ended up there for 5 years living with the Trappist. And it's a Catholic order, and I've written about that, I think, in the book a little bit. And I was never a monk. I was a lay brother. We did all the heavy lifting, and I shoveled cow manure for 4 years. And some of my critics on the right say I'm still shoveling cow manure, so so it's worked out fine. But it was a lovely 5 years. I came out before taking any kind of vows.
Why'd you do it?
I wanted to read, and I wanted to get away from the world for a little while. And it's a monastic order, very costly. We never went anywhere. You went in, you stayed in that one place. And I never went out for 5 years except to give blood. And then a local Red Cross office. And so it was heavy manual labor. We woke up about 3 in the morning. I was on the milking crew. We had a herd of Jersey cows, and I milked till about 7 or 8, and then had breakfast, a slice of bread, and it was a very austere life. And then we said the Psalms, we prayed the Psalms every day, and we had Mass, and then we went back in the fields. I took in the crops, took care of the calves, and went to bed at 7 o'clock. But I read about 300 books a year.
Why'd you leave it?
The abbot there was a wonderful man, Augustine Moore, and he said, well, I think you can do better than shovel manure, even though you're doing it for the Lord. He said, go try writing. That's obviously what you have your heart set on. And I've always thanked him for that advice. And there are about 80 fathers and brothers there. Just really very good, holy men that lived authentic Christianity.
You got out of the monastic life after 5 years and did what?
In '66, and I started to freelance write around the country, and I wrote for some of the small magazines. And one of my readers then was Sergeant Shriver, who saw an article I wrote about him, a little bit criticizing him, and I never nickel. I was out in Kansas City, and he tracked me down, somehow found me, and said, I read this piece, I'm looking for somebody who thinks he knows everything, and he kind of joking like that, and he said he was looking for someone to help him with some of writing his articles, his speeches, and so he hired me, and that's how I came to Washington in '66. And in fact, I dedicated my book to Sergeant Eunice Shriver and also my mother-in-law. And I've been very close to Sergeant Shriver all these years. I think he's one of the great political servants. I mean, all the programs he began, Head Start, Job Corps, Legal Services, a Peace Corps, a Vista, are all there. So when people criticize, oh, those 60s programs, they didn't do anything. Are you kidding? They're in place. They've served hundreds of millions of people, plus Special Olympics, which he now runs with Eunice Shriver. That's a global program. It's the biggest sports program in the world. And both the Shrivers have done that. I think they are rare people. And Sarge is a very humane person, goes to Mass every morning. Doesn't shout about it. I tell you what he's heard from Jesus this morning, like some other people do. It kind of gets to me when you hear these self-righteous alleged Christians. I've never met a Christian. I've met some people trying to become one, but I've never met one who really was. But the Trappers were the closest, and I say Sergeant Shriver was also very close.
Bandits are pure sports practitioners. As long as they're not harming others doing it, there's no harm, and a lot of things have been accomplished in this world, sporting and otherwise, by bandits. They're the true sporting revolutionaries. I love Coleman's anarchic style. It's not just anarchy and chaos, you know, it's anarchy and order. Those aren't mutually exclusive, and you have to have the order if anarchy is going to be enjoyable. But Coleman places no limits on his students, and he's a giver. He just gives love and gives encouragement, doesn't try to change you or control you. And I think that trust, giving students that kind of trust as an educator, achieves powerful results. It did with me. I was a student of his, or with him, for several years. Besides reading about the people, history, and ideas of nonviolence, and hearing Coleman's relating his experience with all three, is the state of gradelessness, a grade-free culture where the teacher truly has no power over you, but shares all his power with the students. And again, that kind of anarchy in a classroom really allows true learning to flourish, self-directed learning to flourish.
No es posible que nos tratemos la gente bien si no hay un control sobre nosotros. ¿Por qué razón? Porque cada quien va a querer hacer lo que quiera y ahí viene un desorden que es difícil de controlar. Creemos que todo en la vida, desde que comenzó la existencia del mundo, hemos sido regidos por órdenes, por reglas, por leyes.
¿Para usted? ¿Con ella?
Con ella, no, tuve 2 años atrás de ella.
McCarthy, good morning.
Connie,
Happy Thanksgiving.
thank you.
What's your first story up? Need I ask?
Well, it's about the national day when we celebrate families and eating food. I have a little trouble with this feast day, however, because it's involved about 2 things. We ignore the great harm done to tribal people called Indians, and I always wonder how, if I were an Indian, how would I feel about this holiday? And I've interviewed many chiefs and many folks around on the reservations around the country, and they don't quite celebrate the same way we do, because they have some grievances. And this holiday goes back to the origins when some white armed people from Europe arrived on these shores and said, give us your land. And they've been taking it ever since. This is the only holiday centered around a slaughtering of an animal. We bring out this, here's a photograph right here this morning. You take a look at that. There's a corpse.
The style section of the Washington Post.
Yeah,
your newspaper.
That's right, yes. Yeah, there it is. There's a corpse right on the screen. This is, I mean, we have this holiday centered around killing another living being. And I align myself, I don't need dead animals or dead birds or dead fish myself. I think it's kind of gross to be eating the carcass. And I align myself with all those people around the country who will be refusing to go along with this cruelty-centered meal today. There's only 2 ways to eat: either cruelty-centered or cruelty-free.